All right, y'all, so this will be 2.4. And we call this one the algebra of functions. All right, y'all, let me pull that down just a little bit for you. All right, so there's 4 operations we're going to look at with our functions. So given f of x and g of x. Okay, 4 operations we're looking at. First operation is what we call f plus g of x. So when they give us f plus g of x, they want us to take f of x and add that to g of x. And then we'll do examples with all these operations, okay? Second operation, f minus g of x. So that'll be f of x minus g of x. Now, between those two, subtraction's trickier because we're going to put our functions in parentheses when we work these. And if you got parentheses that follow subtraction, you got to distribute that negative, okay? All right, the third operation is f times g of x. So f of x times g of x is what this one's representing. So f of x times g of x. So on your multiplication, that's when you're going to be hit with either the distributive property or you're going to have to FOIL these, okay? And then we got one more operation, and that'll be f divided by g of x. That's going to equal f of x divided by g of x. But y'all, I'll ask you this, since y'all know what you do about our domains now, what can g of x not equal? All right, let me see that chat going. All right, 0, 0. Both of y'all got that right. Good job. G of x cannot equal 0 when we're dealing with a fraction. Good job. I got to try to move something out of my way real quick. All right. All right, so we're going to do examples with all these operations. And notice when I start these, I usually put my functions inside parentheses. All right, so let's see what they're going to start out. So this one starts out given f of x equals x squared plus 2. And g of x, y'all, is going to equal x plus 3. On this problem, they want us to find f plus g of x. So that's our problem right there. Now, we'll say this. When you're doing these operations, if they do not give me a number to put in for this x, then there's going to be no way to get rid of the x's in your problem, okay? So you're not going to come up with a single number on problems like this. You're going to end up with these variables. So here we go. So to start this problem, I'm going to bring down my f plus g of x. And up here we said, well, that's just going to equal f of x plus g of x. So I'm going to use parentheses for my f of x and then plus my g of x. And then we're just going to replace each with what we need. So for f of x, we have x squared plus 2. G of x, we're going to put in an x plus 3. So, y'all, basically, you just want to get rid of these parentheses and add like terms. Now, since there's no negatives in front of these parentheses or no subtraction, I can drop the parentheses and everything will come out with the same sign. So I can bring out my x squared plus 2, and then I can bring out my plus x plus 3. So when you got a plus in front of a parentheses, we treat that like a positive 1. And when you multiply positive 1 times anything, it's going to keep them same signs, okay? So do y'all think this one can go further?
Yes, by adding the 2 and the 3.
Adding
Right.
2 and 3, there you go.
Yay.
Like terms, good job. So I need to get my chat brought back down here. I couldn't see it. All right, let me see what chat's already got the answer, right? X squared plus x plus 5, good job. Actually left it in descending order. Now, I will say this, every answer don't need to be in descending order, but when you punch it in, look at the answer blanks, because above it or right under it, it'll tell you whether you need them in descending order or not. In descending order just means go from the highest exponent, lower exponent, into your number. All right, so I'm gonna put this down a little bit, get this second one on here. All right, y'all, so this one we're given f of x equals x squared minus 4. G of x is going to equal x minus 2. They want us to find f times g of an x. All right, so notice sometimes they'll put the dot for multiple time. Sometimes they'll put the f and g right next to each other, okay? So we know that f times g of x is going to equal our f of x times our g of x. So I'm just going to put my parentheses right next to each other for my multiplication on this one. All right, so let's put in our f of x, which was the x squared minus 4. And then my g of x was the x minus 2. So I plugged them in because that's what it wanted, right? F times g of x. So here's my f of x and my g of x. So y'all, this is the one where I was giving y'all practice the other day. We're going to FOIL this one. So we're going to take the x squared in this parenthesis, multiply by both of these. Then I'll get that negative 4 in these parentheses and multiply by both of those. So y'all, here we go. X squared times the x gives us the x to the third. So remember, I'm just adding exponents when I multiply the x times the x. And anytime it don't have an exponent, you got to treat it like a 1. Now, x squared times negative 2 is a negative 2 x squared. So now we do the negative 4. Negative 4 times x is a negative 4x. And then finally the negative 4 times a -2 gives me what, a +8. So can this one go further? All right, so chat says no, good job, because these have no like terms on it. And since we don't have any like terms, we stop there. All right, watch this one. Given f of x equals x squared minus 3. G of x is going to equal x minus 1. No, they want us to find g times g of x. So what y'all think on that? And we're going to come down g times g of x. So we know it's multiplication, so we're going to have 2 sets of parentheses. And y'all, I'll tell y'all what's going in the first parentheses, and then y'all can tell me what's going in the second parentheses. In the first parentheses, since they got a g here, I'm going to put x minus 1. Any guesses for the second parentheses?
X squared minus 3.
Oh, I got y'all. So you see what they got down here, what they want us to
Oh,
actually.
would be x minus 1?
Bam, that's it. So watch what they want, y'all. See, they wanted g times g, so they just wanted me to take the g function and multiply by itself. But what they did, they gave you that f of x just to throw you a curveball. We didn't even need it in this problem. All right, so two things being multiplied, I'm going to FOIL this again. So the x times x, 1 plus 1 will give me an x squared. So I treated them both like they had a 1. X times -1 is a -1x, or just a -x. And y'all remember, anytime you see these variables and they don't have a number in front of them, this is like a 1x squared minus 1x. And then we do that on the inside. -1 times x is a -1x. And then at the very end, you got a -1 times -1. That's going to give me a +1. So let me bring down that x squared. So here's the question. I had people missing this in class earlier. But that -x and that -x, those are like terms. But y'all, they're not going to cancel because they got opposite signs on them. Okay? So you need to treat that like a -1 and a -1. Add those two -1s together, and that's going to give you a -2x. So people in class were thinking, well, I'm adding two negatives. Don't that give me a positive? Remember, that's only when you're multiplying and dividing that those like signs give you positives, okay? All right, then what I need to do, bring down my 1 at the end. Okay, so they're going to give you all kinds of stuff, but you focus on what they're actually wanting on these, okay? All right, y'all, if y'all ready, I'm going to turn over for the next one.
Mhm.
And then let me move this camera back up. All righty, so my next one, I'm going to actually give you some numbers on this one. So on this one, we're given f of x equals negative 18x plus 8. G of x is going to equal x squared plus 5. They want us to find f of 2 plus g of 2. Now, they also could have said, since both of these had the same numbers going into them for the x's, they could have said find f plus g of a 2, okay? But they didn't use that lingo here. So here we go. We got f of 2 plus g of 2 is going to equal my first function plus my second function. So f of x goes in the first one, but remember, they want an f of 2. So when I bring down that negative 18, I'm going to put my variable inside parentheses plus my 8. But y'all, we're not putting the x in there, are we? They want me to put a 2 in for that x. So since they put me a 2 here, I got to put it in for the x on the f of x. And then now notice g of 2 wants me to put a 2 in for its x. So that's going to give me what, a 2 squared plus 5. Now, y'all, okay, so now work order of operations. So I'm going to work my first one plus my second one. So I'll get rid of my parentheses when I get these down to single numbers. So these are the kind where you end up with that one answer and you're done. So inside these parentheses, work those order of operations. So here we're going to multiply first. So negative 18 and 2 give us a negative 36 plus our 8. Over here, 2 squared, that's 2 times 2 is 4. And then bring down to plus 5. So now that we only got one thing to do in each parentheses, we can get rid of them. So we'll figure out negative 36 plus 8 gives you a negative 28. Over here, my 4 plus 5 give me 9. And then finally, negative 28 plus 9, that's what a negative, let's see, 28 minus 9 is what, 19? So we get a negative 19 final answer. So just remember, if I put a number there, use that number in these instead of these x's, okay? All right, so let me find my next problem for y'all. Are y'all ready? So let's let x, or f of x, we're gonna let that equal negative 11x plus 6. G of x, they want g of x to equal x squared plus 14. On this one, they want us to find, oh, where'd I go? F of negative 5 divided by g of negative 5. So once again, they want me to replace my x's with a number on this one, okay? So here we go. F of negative 5 divided by g of negative 5 will equal my f equation on top, my g on the bottom. So on top, I got negative 11 times my x, which is negative 5, and then plus my 6. So that looks like the f up here. The g on the bottom was a x squared. So that's going to be a -5 squared plus 14. Y'all, I want y'all to see something on this. Up here, when I squared my 2, I didn't need parentheses because the calculator just want to do 2 times 2 and give me 4. When you do a negative number, you gotta put negative numbers in parentheses when you're squaring them, especially on that calculator. Now, if I was doing this problem right here on the calculator, I would actually put extra parentheses on top and bottom if I was doing it on the calculator. Because you got to let the calculator know what your numerator is divided by your denominator, okay? All right, let's work order of operations on top. We got to multiply before we add. So that -11 times -5 will give me a 55 plus my 6 over the bottom, which is a -5 squared. Anything squared will become positive. So that's going to be a positive 25 plus 14. Okay. Now to finish that out, 55 plus 6 is 61 over 25 and 14. Give me what? 39. So I would check to see if it reduced, but y'all, this one does not reduce. So we're done. So see how these, when they give me numbers, notice how you only get a single number, okay? It can be a fraction, but you're only getting one number. All right, so let's see. Here we got given f of x equals 3x minus 6. G of x equals 9x minus 2. They want us to find f minus g of an x. All right, so notice this time they're not giving me a number for the variable, so I cannot change those x's because that's the same thing that's in my 2 functions, okay? So here we go. F minus g of x is going to equal my f equation minus our g equation. Right, where am I at? So f, I had what? 3x minus 6. This phone's blown up. All right, let me see. All right. All right, then when we're back to it, g was what? 9x minus 2. So remember, while ago when we added, we didn't have to worry about the parentheses as much because we could drop them and everything stayed the same. But this second parentheses is following a subtraction. So when I get to it, I'm going to be distributing that subtraction to both parts inside that parentheses. So I'm going to drop these ones and I get a 3x minus 6. Then it tells me to what? Subtract 9x. So that's going to stay negative. Because there was what? A negative times positive. But notice this -2. When you subtract a negative, well, that negative and negative is going to make that a +2. So, can I go further?
Come on, my turn.
There you go. So let me see. Oh, and actually we got two sets in here, right? Those x's y'all can add together. So what do we got? 3 and -9. So 3 and -9 give me -6 x's. Then we take that -6, add to that 2, and that's what, -4. And if you notice on these problems, they really ride those unlike signs when you're adding, okay? So they want y'all to get good at adding positive numbers and negatives. All right, given f of x equals -2x plus 3, g of x is going to equal x squared minus 4. They want me to find g minus f of x. All right, so let me write this out as what? G minus f of x will equal one of my functions minus my other functions. So this is on y'all. What are y'all putting in the first parentheses?
X squared minus 4.
Ooh, good job. X squared minus 4, which means in the second one
The same thing. Oh,
is going to be your -2x plus 3. Because see, you got your g minus your f. All righty. Anybody want to guess what this next line is going to have?
when you change when you change the signs in the second one to +2,
So you're going to x squared minus 4 plus the 2x. And then what did y'all say last?
-3.
Minus 3. That's it. And then last that, add those like terms. So let's see, on this one, all we got is what, a -4 and a -3 that can add together. So I'm going to bring down the x squared plus my 2x. And then -4 and -3 is what, a -7. But they're not too bad. Y'all probably like this a lot better than trying to graph in math lab, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me turn my paper over. It starts flipping up on me. All righty. All right, so y'all pay attention to this next one, okay? They're letting us have given f of x equals x squared minus 12. G of x is going to equal 11 minus x. They want us to find f times g of n. Y'all watch this one. They're being tricky on this one. So let's get it started by at least putting our f times g of n. So we're multiplying, so we know that's going to be 2 sets of parentheses right next to each other. So the question of the day, what's actually going into my first parentheses?
11 minus x.
Oh, now look what I want here. I want my f, right?
Oh,
So my f is,
x squared minus 12.
but here's the, oh, look at that. 09 got me. But remember, what do they want me to put in place of that x? Yeah, there you go. They want us to put an n in place of that x because that's what's in these parentheses, okay? So when you put in your x squared minus 12, you're really putting in an n squared minus 12. So this one, they didn't give me a number, but they did give me a different variable to put in there. So how about the second parentheses? I'm trying to see nothing on the 10. 11 minus n, there we go. Okay, so just replace the variable with what they gave us in the parentheses. And now y'all, you're just gonna FOIL this. Now this one, they want me to, after I FOIL it, they want this one in descending order. So when we're done, we got to rearrange it, okay? All right, so here we go. N squared times 11 is 11n squared. N squared times a negative n is a negative n to the third. Remember, I got 2 n's times another n, gave me 3 n's being multiplied. All right, then we got what? Negative 12 times 11 is a negative 132. And then finally, that negative 12 times that negative n is going to give you a positive 12n. Oh, y'all hang on just 1 second, trying to get a student in. All right, so notice there's no like terms on this, but we do got to put it in order. So the highest exponent is the n3, so we're going to bring out our negative n3. And notice they got to keep their signs if they got signs in front of them. So next will be the 11n squared, so that's going to be a positive 11n squared plus our 12n, and then minus our 132. So now we're in descending order from our exponents, and we're good. Oh yeah, so let me see, 130. So yeah, you had them right, but they just like totally turn it around.
How many questions on the homework?
Do what now?
How many questions is on the homework?
Oh, well, let's see. They got about 16. So it's not too bad. A lot of them are operations, and then at the end, we start messing with a little bit of domain stuff. So let me see, 35. So let me do one more of these, and then I'll get into the domain ones. All right, this one says, let f of x equal x squared minus 17. G of x is going to equal 13 minus x. I'm going to find f divided by g of a negative 6. So if you remember a while ago, they did f of negative 5 divided by g of negative 5. This one, they're actually using that symbolism. And then remember, this time they want me to put that negative 6 in for my x's. So y'all, here we go. F divided by g of negative 6 is going to equal my f equation on top, which will be a negative 6 squared minus 17 over g of negative 6 on the bottom, which will be 13 minus -6. Now remember, if I did this on the calculator, I would put extra parentheses around the top and bottom if I did it on my calculator, okay? So by hand, -6 squared, -6 times -6 is a 36 minus 17. On the bottom, the only thing I'm going to do on the bottom is convert that double negative. So 13 minus a -6 is like 13 plus 6, just like y'all were doing on those distributive properties earlier. Well, all right, let's see what we get. 36 minus 17 is what? Positive 19. 13 plus 6 on the bottom is a positive 19. So y'all can reduce that one, right? Bam, I see it on the board. It looks like a 1, and that's what I got. All righty now, so what I'm about to do, these problems, they just want us to find domains. So the last 3 problems go over domain only, okay? I'm gonna pull that down. So y'all, my first one says, for the functions determine the domain of the sum, difference, and product. So they just want me to see what my domain is if I was to add my functions, subtract my functions, and multiply my functions. So for f of x, looks like they're giving us x squared. For g of x, they're giving us 4x minus 7. So I'm going to start out with f plus g of x. Because that will be my sum, right? And then I'll do f minus g of x for that difference, and then f times g of x for that product. Right, so I got to put in, here's my f plus my g. So let's see, for f, I'm putting in an x squared. G, I'm putting in a 4x minus 7. Now, y'all, they don't want us to work this. They just want us to find our domain. So do y'all have any guesses on what the domain might be for this problem? Now, go back to Tuesday night, remember? Now let's see, I got one online. Let's see, Zach says, all real? Correct. Because we do not see any fractions in either one of these functions. And that's a good job, because the only thing I'm worried about, remember, in this chapter is if I got a fraction, then I got to worry about it, okay? So this was definitely all real numbers. So let's do our subtraction, our difference. F minus g of x is going to equal your f minus your g, which will be x squared minus 4x minus 7. All right. Y'all hang on 1 second. I'm going to pause this. I got to send a link to somebody. They just don't have an idea where my link is at, okay? So let me copy my link real quick and send it to them. All right, then let me go to my, I'll be right back, y'all. All right, I'm almost done. I gotta pop up her name again. Paste it. And then, all right, so she should be joining in a second if she got that link. All right. All right, sorry about that. I had one, couldn't find my link in Blackboard, but surely my link's still there, right? Ain't y'all going through Blackboard? Some of y'all to pick the link?
I am.
Mm-hmm. All righty, so, okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. She must be just not finding it in there. So did y'all get this domain for this one?
For real?
All real, that's it. Still no fractions there to worry about, right? Now I did my product, will have my F times my G. So what was my F? X squared again, and G was 4x minus 7. So y'all been doing so good. How about this one?
All real, right? Because there's not a fraction.
Definitely all real numbers. All right, y'all. So if y'all ready, let's knock out this next one. So same thing for the functions. So for the pair of functions, find the domain. Of the sum, difference, and product. So let's see, they're giving us this time f of x equals 1 divided by x minus 3. G of x equals 9x to the third. So let me see, I'll start out with my sum, then my difference, then my product. So my sum is going to be f plus g of x. That's going to equal our f plus rg. So all my f was what? 1 over x minus 3. Then g was just 9x to the third. Oh, now someone asked me on the last problem, if they'd have asked division, I would have divided the x squared by 4x minus 7. And since I was dividing, that would have gave me a fraction. I'd set that bottom of the fraction equal to 0 and solved it. And then that would have gave me the one number that I would have had to kick out. And the one I do last after this one, it'll have division and y'all see, okay? Oh, y'all got something to worry about on this one, right? You got a big fraction sitting here looking at you. So since one of my functions was a fraction, oh, you're so close on that answer. I'm just trying to figure out how y'all got a 4 on that. So let me show you what I would do. Oh, there you go. It's 3. So you would set that one, you would set that bottom, x minus 3 equal to 0, and then solve that. So when you solve that, you're just adding 3 to both sides, and you get x equals 3. So remember, since we got a number, our domain would be x such that x is a real number. And x cannot equal 3. All right, so good job on that. And how about f minus g of x? That'll be my f equation, 1 over x minus 3 minus my g equation, which is 9x to the third. So what y'all think about this domain? Well, guess what? You still got a fraction, right? And that fraction still has an x minus 3 on the bottom.
So would it be the same?
It's going to be the same. There you go. I'm hoping you're sort of noticing I'm hoping you're noticing that adding, subtracting, and multiplication, they usually always got the same domain, okay? And so the same thing here, my f would have been 1 over x minus 3 times my 9x to the third. Same thing, right? The fraction times the 9x to the third. Only thing that's bothering us is that fraction. So it's definitely going to be the same. Good job. X such that x is real and x cannot equal that 3. So y'all been wanting a little division. So here it comes. We'll pull down. And this will be the last one for the actual college algebra homework, okay? So for the functions, determine the domain of f divided by g. F of x is going to equal 4x minus 5. G of x is going to equal 5x minus 35. So let's get this one set up. They want f divided by g. That's going to equal my f equation, 4x minus 5, divided by that g equation, which is 5x minus 35. So y'all, this one's not going to be all real numbers, is it? Because you definitely have a fraction there. Now, since I got a fraction, I'm going to take that denominator. So let me see. Y'all done got an answer here. Y'all said x can't be 7. So let's see. 5 times 7 is 35. 35 minus 35 makes that a 0. So it looks like you're right on that. So y'all, what Cindy did here, she set that bottom equal to 0 and solved it for that x. So let's add 35 to both sides. That gives me 5x equals 35. Then divide by the 5. So there you go. There's our 7 like Cindy got, right? So now remember that domain will be x such that x is a real number and x cannot equal that 7. Okay, so y'all wanted y'all to see for sure. If you don't have them fractions on a domain, then it's definitely all real numbers, okay? We're only worried when we do have fractions there. All right, so questions off of this lecture. All right, so we want to keep it sort of mellow. So that's the last thing you got to learn this week. So by Sunday night, to keep up pace with this class, you want to have everything through 2.4 worked, okay? All righty, so I'm going to stop that share if y'all got them notes. All righty, anybody have questions over tonight or what we had in the past?
No, sir.
No.
All right, so
No.
so remember, if you do get stuck anywhere, email me. I usually try to answer them emails pretty quick. And especially if you're doing homework, you can just click that help me solve this or whatever. You'll see one that says email my instructor. If you use that one, then it'll actually send me the problem you're having issues with, okay? So y'all give me about an hour. I'll get this uploaded into YouTube and then have y'all links sent. So if you did come in late, you'll have the whole lecture, okay? And that usually takes me about an hour or so. Y'all, I don't see any questions at all. So we'll end this meeting and I will see y'all Tuesday night. And y'all have a good weekend.